Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sergeant Code featuring your girl AZ. Today, we're going to talk about what it means to be a believing female and what it means to really understand that aspect of what you really have to have in order for you to be that believing female, right? So, we're going to start off with what does it mean to be a believing female, right? I know I talked about part one and part two and what it takes to be a believing female, but we're really going to dive deep into it and really understand what it really means to be a believing female. Now, that means that when you're a believing female, you really have to dive deep and understand that there's aspects that you're going to touch that nobody has touched before. I'm talking about like the nitty gritty parts of you that no one has ever touched. And I'm talking about like the parts of you that you never understood that someone could tap into until you realize that there were even parts that were able to be touched. Now I'm talking about like, say you had some trauma in your life, right? We all have trauma in our life. There's nobody that has not been touched with trauma. So now you have to grow that part and that aspect about you in order to remove that trauma out of your life, to understand that there's not only that part that needs to be relieved, but also needs to be reconciled within yourself in order to become that one person with full on love that brings on the prosperity and everything that you want out of life, right? So when I say this, I'm talking about in the aspect of you being who you are and who you want to become, right? There's parts of you that are saying, like, hey, I want to become this believing female, and where I can only be able to enable this without tapping into that trauma, that hurt, that part of yourself that you're just sitting there like, why do I even have to dive into this real deep right now? Right? Why am I even able to touch this part of myself right now? And it makes only sense for you to tap into that part because that's that part that you are not realizing that you need to put in the forefront in order for you to realize who you are and who you need to become. Now, that's something that you're going to have to cleanse out of your system. That's a part of you that needs to be able to touch and go through the maneuvering parts, and something that needs to be completely 100%, I mean 111% tapped into in order for you to have that alignment of, well, I know that there's a part of me that I need to work on, but then there's also a part of me that I also need to figure out what's going on with, right? Like for me, for example, I'll give you something about me. I've always had that part of me where I knew that I had to work on myself as far as having that ultimate figure male perspective in my life. Now, I've always had that male figure in my life, right? But it was never to the point where it was like solidified. I've had my father in my life, right? But it was never to the point where it was like, every day on set, let me make sure that everything's good to go, right? So I had to understand that my father was serving as a provider and someone who made sure that the bills were paid and that we had a roof over our head. But I never understood that I also needed to dive deeper and understand what it really took in order for me to understand what men were all about in this lifetime. Because a lot of us females sit there and realize that we don't understand men the way we really understand men, right? We're going to dive really deep into this episode and really dive deep into this video because, again, remember, I'm here to give you guys the raw truth when it comes to everything and every aspect of your life, especially you females, especially you women, knowing that we have to do what we have to do in order to become our better versions of ourselves. That means mentally, that means physically, that means emotionally. We have to understand that we have to get to where we are today in order to make sure that our generations to come are ready to go, right? So let me get into this. We understand things in men that have been programmed in our minds that aren't even the truth. Let's be honest, right? Number one, and this is the honest truth. I don't know where you're going to hear this from, any other place, but you're going to hear it from me, right? Men are never monogamous. Men are not meant to be monogamous. You heard it from me only. Men are not meant to be monogamous. Now, any women that tells you that, oh yeah, my man has been monogamous from day one and AZ's just lying, let's be honest. Really, your man's monogamous? Really? Because it's been tested through time and it's been tested through everywhere we've been through, and it's been revelations and a lot of religions that I know of that I've studied show that men have never been monogamous from day one. Now understand, why aren't men monogamous? Because men aren't meant to be monogamous. Men aren't meant to be monogamous. Men are meant to multiply and become something that is higher than what we can think of as females. And that's why we are a product of non-monogamy. Yeah, we are. We are a product of men not being monogamous. Let's be honest. And you want me to spit the truth? This is the truth right here. I'm going to give you guys the raw truth because I don't know what other podcast is not going to give you the truth. And video wise, I'm going to give you guys the truth. Men are not meant to be monogamous. And being in that aspect and understanding that men aren't meant to be monogamous, that means that you as a female, you as a woman, right, is steps. Female, woman. Now, when I give you guys the codes of how to become a believing female, that's because that's part one. Now, when we get to the woman, believing woman, that's a whole nother scenario. And we're going to dive deep into that. Don't worry. We're going to get there. But we're going to start off with the believing female. And then you guys are going to build into that. And then we're going to jump into the believing female part 2. Right? And then we're going to jump into the believing woman part 1. And then we're going to jump into the believing woman part 2. So, you see what I'm saying? But I really want to spill the beans on this topic. Like, men are not meant to be monogamous. And it's ironic to me. It makes sense because in history, the most highest figure of men were literally having tens and thousands of wives around them. The most powerful men in history have had tens and thousands of women around them, right? Pause for a second. Why is that now society is making us only allowed to be with one legitimate wife, but then have whatever we have on the side, but yet still stay monogamous to that one woman? Does that make any sense to us? No. So where is that balance of women who, like myself, are alphas in the situation, right? Like, say for example, you're a woman who can hold your own. Say you're a woman who's able to take care of what she needs to get done in order to get the job done right? Say, for example, you're someone who's able to lay the law down, take care of your own household, and make sure that everything's done in the orderly fashion that you know is supposed to be done. But then, yet, you got men out here who are trying to rule and try to downgrade and then try to make it seem like it's not what women have been able to build, right? And I'm just trying to understand, like, why does that make any sense at all? And I've come to the conclusion to where it's like, it's not our fault at the end of the day. Women need to understand that it's never your fault. If men want to think the way they want to think, it's because they were programmed to think that way. It was programmed for them to feel the way they feel because they never understood what a worth of a woman is. And once they really have that woman in their life, then they're going to think and be like, they're going to bump their head, by the way, right? They're going to be like, oh my God. Like, I didn't realize that I had that type of woman in my life. And now I need to act correctly because anything I do, it can trample that whole relationship. Yeah, I need you to, right, take that U-turn right back and hit that right. And then understand that, yeah, that woman in your life was there to enable you to become a better man in your life. Not for you to go there and try to sit and be like, yeah, well, I can go ahead and get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other women just like you and be like an empire type man and grow into the sensation I want to get to. Women, females, and women, we need to stay within our element and stay within ourselves, because that right there is going to make men realize that we're not replaceable, that we're there in order to serve the highest good of God, and also make sure that we're doing what we have to do as our due diligence to make sure that we make things happen and make things reconcile the way they're supposed to, right? Not every female has that capability of being able to bring down mountains and bring down watersheds and being able to make things happen the way they're supposed to, right? Not every female has that aspect. But I know whoever's tuning into this episode, and I know who's tuning into this knows. And if you're still staying on to this whole episode, I know dang well, because I'm not going to curse. I know dang well you're an alpha female because you resonate with this message. We are here in order to and enable to make this society a better place for us and for people who are around us and for our significant others, in order to make them realize that, listen, you can go ahead and try and go ahead and get yourself whoever you want to get, right? Because again, we don't own them. We don't own anybody we're with. We're just there to, God owns them. Remember, this whole channel is all about the universal aspect of God. So God is the owner of everything that is in our lives. So whoever you're with, your significant other, is owned a slave to God. So realize that God has the order of who you're with. So when you realize that, you know that God is the owner of who I'm with, which means that whoever God bestowed upon me means that God is the owner of them. So if God is the owner of that person, then I have to make sure that I am coinciding with that, and I am making sure that that structure is lined up in that way. So I can never sit here and be like, well, you're with me, you need to listen to what I have to say. No, because I won't make sure that you're going to act accordingly in my manner. So I need you to make sure that you are good with God first in order for you to come back to me and make sure that you're good to go. So if your man ever starts lingering away or says that, gives them, females, women, we know. We have a sixth sense. Like when your man says, oh, yeah, it's nobody but you, baby. Or it's nobody but you, sweetheart or darling. Give that look like, okay, give me the truth now. I need the truth. Tell me the truth. What is the truth? What? Say it again. One more time. Tell me the truth. Oh, right. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. Give me the truth. But that's literally what I have to say to you guys. I need you guys to keep an open mind, an open heart. Understand that a lot of these men out here, hang on tight, girl. Hang on tight, because it's a lot that has to be said, and there's a lot that has to be done, and it's not gonna take you not understanding who you are, so you're able to hold yourself down and stabilize yourself, and then you know that you're doing the right thing. Because at the end of the day, who's in control? What do I always preach? God. God's in control of this whole thing. So sit back, relax, do your thing, and men are gonna be men, right? Men are always gonna be men. That's why you always have to make sure that you stand within yourself and your own power. And you make sure that you never allow someone to trigger yourself to get out of your own power, right? This is your girl AZ from the Sergeant Code. Be sure to like and subscribe at the bottom of the page. Sooner or later, we're going to be having all types of advertisements and all types of event codes, all types of productivity type of productions going on. We're going to be having a bunch of advertisements to my clothing line that's going to be coming out very soon. So stay tuned to that, and make sure that you like and subscribe again, because this channel is only able to happen because of you and because of my subscribers and because of the ones that believe in the message that I always say. Again, these messages come from God. They're ordained from God. And when they come to me, I have to release it back to the public, and I have to release it to my subscribers, because you guys know what's going on. You guys know the message. You guys know how we're supposed to be. You guys know how we're supposed to align in the ways that we're supposed to align. Right? So I need you guys to understand that that is the only way in order for us to become better versions of ourselves, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Regardless, hold your ground, girl. Hold your ground, woman. Hold your ground, lady, because at the end of the day, you got to. I'm telling you, there's no way. You have to hold your ground. Again, this is AZ from the Sergeant Code. stay tuned for the next episode. Toodles. Have a blessed day. Because